Okay, good evening. Time for another DRAWSPLAINING episode. And here, I'll show you first what I've got going here. I've been doing sketchbooks for a long time and just keeping them. And I don't usually really show them too much, but they're like a private place to mess around with stuff. So all kinds of wacky things I draw, and sometimes cartoony, sometimes realistic, sometimes very realistic. They're all kind of different, but it's a place to just experiment and just really, sometimes even when I don't feel like drawing, I sit down and draw. Sometimes it comes out well, sometimes it comes out really crappy, but overall it's just a steady practice to mess around. So I landed on this. I want to do maybe a 1 hour drawing, and I landed on this page. I was experimenting a while back. I don't know when this is from. I usually put dates. 2009 this book is from. Like I said, it's kind of stream of consciousness, just draw anything literally that comes into my head. Sometimes I have a clear idea of what I want to draw. Other times I just start drawing, and then making variations on each one, you kind of progress into having kind of a cool idea that you wouldn't have started off thinking of. So you do it by steps, each time making variations. And I think where I originally got this idea from, I'm going to digress for a moment before I start drawing, because this I found really useful. Well, two things. Roy Crane, the cartoonist, he makes notes about variations in the book. Sorry, not a book. It's a magazine that used to be published. I don't know if it's still running, called Cartoonist Profiles. He had published a series of pages he had done for himself and his assistants. And one of them that stuck in my head was about making variations. And he was talking about drawing different things, and that if you didn't get it right, you just keep working on variations, which I guess is not unique to him, but it's really good to remember. And the other one that's more pertinent to this is, I read a book about Norman Rockwell, the brilliant illustrator Norman Rockwell, and he had a thing that he talked about how he worked up all these amazing covers he did for the Saturday Evening Post back in the day, you know, whatever it was, I guess the 40s, 50s. I think he ended in the 60s, I'm not sure. The illustration purists would know. But he did just hundreds, I think, of amazing paintings. But it wasn't only his painting technique, Norman Rockwell. It was his ideas. And he talked about how when he didn't have an idea for a cover, because he was doing them quite often for the Saturday Evening Post, which again is a magazine that's no longer publishing, but it had wonderful illustration in it, particularly on the covers. So he said that the way he evolved the covers was that he came up with a method. And what the method was is, each time he sat down, unless he had a exact idea that had popped into his head, but if he didn't, he evolved it. And how he did that was, he said he always, this is very quirky, but he said he always started by drawing a sailor leaning against a lamppost. Now, I guess this is the post-war era, so maybe sailors, you know, were in the news or whatever. But he drew a sailor leaning against a lamppost. And I forget the steps he described in his book. He did little cartoons. I think it's the book, I don't know if I have a copy of it to show. My Adventures as an Illustrator. It's something like that. It's his biographical thing. So what he did is he drew that, the same thing, you know, like a lamppost, a sailor leaning against it. And then he said he would think of something that would happen to the sailor. So I think in the book, and again, don't quote me, but it doesn't matter. It just illustrates the idea. You know, he'd say like a piano was falling into the scene because someone had been moving it into the house next door and it dropped, you know, and then it smashed on the ground. And he'd do little sketches of this. And then he'd do a little, you know, a sketch of like the piano smashed, the sailor scratching his head looking at it. Then he'd have like, he'd think of something else, like, you know, a little dog ran up and grabbed a piece of the piano wires, etc., etc. So what he did by doing that is eventually he sidestepped himself into some completely different idea that he wouldn't have thought of right off the bat. But it's like kind of flushing it out or tricking his mind into developing ideas by a series of small steps. because if you don't have the complete answer, final answer, again, you can do it by tricking yourself by just thinking of one new variation. So that really stuck with me. I guess I read that early in my 20s. And that's the whole fun of drawing. Like, you're making up stuff, playing like a kid. You're thinking of your ideas kind of malleable, like rubber or plasticine or putty, and you're changing it, thinking of variations. So that's kind of my longer way of getting to this, which is what I do in my sketchbooks and what most people do, I think, that are somewhat experienced or whatever. Like, you just play around with stuff. In the modern Instagram age, some people I've been mentoring, I've advised, like, it's probably better to keep your sketchbook private and rough. That's what Alex Toth advised me, and I think he was right. Like, it was before the social media age where there's this tendency to want to show everything off. But if you take that tendency into your sketchbook, you're going to freeze up because you're thinking, oh, I got to do this perfectly. I got to snap a perfect picture of it and put it on Instagram or whatever the social media outlet is. And, you just tighten yourself up. So the idea is that you keep it private and you draw what you want. You mess around. You do, like, I just grab a pen or a marker, as you can see here, and just draw whatever the hell. I don't care about doing a fine drawing. I can do that later. And so what I'm going to do now is try and choose one of these. Like, I had a bunch of variations of the same thing. Like, I was thinking about floating ridiculous sort of animals or alien animals. I guess they could be whimsical, and they're like gas bags. But then I was thinking if they were harnessed by, either creatures or humans, and they had like mechanical stuff added to them to turn them into a semi-airplane. Like, here, this would be like, you'd make it like a saddle or a cockpit, and there's a wing, but the creature is supposed to float like it's got some kind of ridiculous helium gas, WINDBAG, a gas bag, and it floats mostly on its own, so it has pretty much neutral buoyancy. But then these people would harness that and turn it into a vehicle, just like you'd saddle a horse and ride it around. It's like an extension of that idea. So here I was playing around with different ideas. So I'm going to take one of them, and I think all of them, like here I've got armored gas bags, they could be war machines. And this one is like a bug-like creature that's got cargo, it would have a scooped out area, cargo, then it's got a rudder, and it's been turned into sort of an airship. This one's kind of like a pig-like creature with giant tusks, and it's, again, got this thing saddled on top of it. It looks fairly happy. It's happy to do the work. So what I'm going to do without any further ado is get a piece of paper, and I've got these 7x10 pieces of paper. See which is the best one. I think I'll use this one. And I'll clean up my workspace and have at it. So let's put this up here to remind me. It's kind of off camera, but I'm going to do this one as a rough. And then I'm going to ink in over it. But this time, not feeling that brave tonight, I will do a rough sketch. I hope that it shows up nicely on camera. But I'm working off this one that I had up here. I'll show it one last time. This one here, where they've got kind of a weird nose cone thing that's like got a cockpit at the top, and then a giant engine strapped to it. I'm going to think about how this might work. Because the fun of it for me is, I don't know if this is even showing up on camera. Is it my lines? Oh, well, bear with me. I'll sketch it in lightly. The fun of it is, I love like Miyazaki because in his movies, he draws the most ridiculous, fun, strange things, but he also gives it an air of conviction, which is what I strive for, like believability. So you mix the whimsy, but then you try and make it something that you can kind of buy. Now I'm going to run out of room here, so I've positioned this a little high for my earlier sketch, but you'll see what I mean. I was going to put an engine, but it'll go off the page here, but I'll fix that. Improvise. I'll change the design a little bit. So let's make this will be like a cargo, some kind of cargo structure. I'm just penciling in rough lines here, and I'll feel free to change this a bit when I ink it, but I want to get a basic structure, the basic form, basic structure. So this is some kind of like firm elements on the back, and maybe I'll put some cargo on top of that. But first I want to get the basic structure of this character. He's kind of going to have kind of like bug-like rhino they're curled back because he's flying. And should we have, let's make it 4 legs. They're strong legs, but they're a little skinny, but that means they're strong. So he's got this. This is some kind of helmet, remote control helmet. Let's connect it with the strap here. This will come a little clearer. And then we have a cockpit up here with a character. I think I'll make it one of my bird characters who's controlling. He's got a windshield in case they get going a little fast. Let's give him he's got like a folding, like on a convertible. He could roll this up over. I'll detail the mechanism. He's got a little door. We'll have a little landing stage here because there's a ladder attached to it that he'd climb up from where he gets on down here. Maybe there's a dock that comes on. And I think I need just my engines. I think I'm going to put the engine on a rudder here. I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to have the engine right here, rear facing. You can go off a little bit. And it's got a bracing rivet or girder there. And we'll have actually the engine there, and I'll put a rudder here. Thinking about for it to fly. They're going to steer it. And then let's get some cargo on there. He's kind of got some loose bags that are strapped. What can we put here? All right, that's good enough. And then, like I say, when I do this setup, it's only been a few minutes, and I'm hoping my viewers can see this clearly because it's a little dim on. I don't want to like dent this paper too much because I like a clean original. Let's make some crates up here. These are almost like notations, you know, for later. Like, again, it's basic volumes. And I'm just setting up basic silhouettes and shapes that everything works clearly. We probably need to add, what I didn't in the original is, he doesn't necessarily need wings because he's got neutral buoyancy, but I'm going to put some ailerons here, like canard mechanisms here that are, that's a little wacky, but whatever. These are all experiments. A canard, and this would be some extra intake for this creature, just to breathe. Where are his nostrils? I guess his nostrils are up there, high up. We got a rudder, and let's make this actually a compartment with a window. And excuse me, I'm trying to think of more structure things here. Like, I think you would have a bracing line there. Maybe that can be metal, because you wouldn't want, if in the real life, that you wouldn't want this to ride around or move. It would be like on a saddle. You got to cinch it tight, you know. Not that I've put a saddle on a horse, but you know, looking at being a city slicker as I am, but looking at it, you would probably need that. Okay, I'm gonna get to inking this, I think. Where's my favorite Pigma? Micron. Here we go. And where to start? I'm trying to think of anything else, you know, as I look at this to give it more interest. you're always looking for things that within the scenario you evolve, more quirks or possibilities. Like, kind of like what I said about the Norman Rockwell example about the sailors. Like, you sort of project yourself into that reality and think, like, if I was really there, like, what would give it more functionality and believability? You know, for one thing, for example, what strikes me is we'd need lamps. So let's put a chin lamp down here. And let's put some kind of array of lights here. It couldn't be too heavy, so let's just have it on a bunch of cross-braced kind of struts. And then at night, this character could turn it on, Mr. Beak here. I'm going to draw Mr. Beak first. He's got goggles on. And he's got some kind of aviator's helmet, maybe some plumage sticking out. I'm leaving a gap for his right there because the windshield, I want it to look like it's through glass. And let's put a scarf flying. I always like to do that. It gives motion. It's kind of quirky. Let's give him big gloves. If we can see that, if that reads. I'm keeping this very simple here because it's so small. So it's better to just make it basic and not get too fussy. And again, I'm doing what's called DRAWSPLAINING. Usually I'd just sit here and have fun drawing. But what am I doing? I'm trying to externalize what would normally be a completely silent process. But I'm trying to explain, you know, for people who are working on developing their skill, as I'm always trying to do, you have to externalize your decision train, you know, why you make certain decisions. And this is like a lifetime recording of, hopefully it goes well. But if it doesn't, you also see that. It's all about making decisions and trying not to go down bad pathways. So that's like a bracing handle that on this little platform that this character would hold on to. And I'm sort of adjusting as I go. And for weight, I'm not going to put another handle there. And you'd have a door here with a little latch. Which this character could open, maybe imply some hinges there. And I'm trying not to do something that will contradict the depth of this. Like I'm trying to draw the things that are in front first. And speaking of that, I've got these ailerons here that are in front. So I want to make sure this ladder comes down and goes behind it, but I've moved this platform over a bit. So let's do the ladder. These are like the lines of the ladder. And I don't care if it wobbles a little bit. Although being a perfectionist, I'm trying to get it as good as I can. Of course, nowadays you can always fix this on the computer. That's going to be the ladder that he would climb up, and I'll extend that after I do this. And let me just see my original sketch. Yeah, I've got okay, it's a little tricky. Let's do some of the lines of the ladder. The rungs, I should say. I'm doing them with single lines. And I don't mind if they're a bit wonky. They look like they've been well used. You know, it gives it like a bit of character. All right, so I need the other strut. I've got this strut. I need the other strut going behind. Let's make where it attaches. Have a little plate there around it, which you'd probably have something to anchor it. It's all about trying to make it convincing. And then for weight, they would probably keep the structure light. So I'm making a little branch of this sticking out. But it's actually going on this angle, the original helmet, this conical helmet thing of this creature. Maybe it's got a pointy head up there, and that's why they put this cockpit up there. It doesn't have to make complete sense. You can make up whatever shapes you want and turn them into a creature. That's what I do all the time. And then you're just trying to justify it later by buttressing it with enough convincing looking crap that people will buy it. And again, to me, that is the delight of when I look at the best designers, particularly Miyazaki, but there's a lot of good people working now. It's not really whether it's got all the CGI and, fancy rendering. It's more like the idea. If it's a fun idea and it has character. My heroes are people from the past like Bill Peet, who did a lot of boarding and story work on the early or classic Disney features. And I suppose he wasn't as known for things like design like this, but he was known for wonderful staging and storytelling and just that gift for the right moment. And again, I'm only mentioning it because it's sort of in line with what I'm saying, that it's not really always about the rendering per se, it's about the idea and hopefully charming your viewer and drawing them into your world. That's what I like as a world. So I've got a vent here. I've already smudged it. So there's a little smudge because I'm too eager. I'm going to turn that into some kind of crack and put a plate here to cover it up as if that plate's kind of cracked. Let's put some rivets around there. So what you do is it's exactly like if you're doing a performance, like say a guitarist, and you miss a note, you act like it's part of the song. You just recover and keep going. Okay, what else here? Trying to sort of think on the fly here. And explain, drawsplain. I may get some smudges, what the hell. Gotta live with it. That's why I chose not to do this one on canvas board though, because that's even smudgier. Actually, I'm realizing as I look at this, then I don't know if it shows up in the glare on the camera, this ink is not sinking into this paper as much as I wanted. Darn you, paper. It is sinking in, but I'm gonna have to do a lot of sort of working around this here. Let's zoom in a bit more. I'm gonna get rid of this book for now. Have a crashing mess off screen. Okay, that way I can zoom in more. Maybe it'll be a little clearer. All right, let's keep going. I need ailerons. Now I've done this in sort of a flatter perspective. I haven't like put these fins up on an extreme angle. Making it as if it tapers into a sort of ball socket joint. But that's like the cross section of the side of the fin. It's got these kind of corrugated lines underneath it, as if it's got metal ridges on it. If anybody knows a Junkers Ju-88, no, not Ju-88, Ju-52, I think, the transport plane. That's what I'm thinking of. That always inspired me, these wings that it had with kind of corrugated, I don't know what the name for it is. Maybe an airplane expert in the comments will tell me. Okay, let's get this going down here. Get that touching. I'm going to continue the lines of this ladder. Make an anchor point there. And I had this platform. I'm going to move it up. A bottom platform. More bracing. And then let's do a cross brace on this. And really the main work here is to try and keep the structure, keep the clarity, and keep the perspective as I draw it. I think what I'll do is, see how I've got this little railing up here? I'm going to add a counterpart down here. And it's kind of like you jump on board there somewhere and grab this railing. Let's make a little anchor plate there. And then let's work on this guy's eye. He's got some kind of armored eye. It's like a porthole almost. So it's kind of like got like a metal surround, and it's probably got covered with some glass or something to protect this beautiful creature. Now let's just get his kind of fish lips, eh? He's got chapped lips, chapped fish lips. Maybe uneven teeth, needs a bit of dental assistance. Kind of lumps, fish lumps. And now we got this band here, so let's make it like it's been made in a couple of pieces. So these would be like corner points where they've riveted it on. And need another anchor plate here, anchor plate. And what I'm going to add here is there's a sort of a blank spot here. I'm going to add for some reason I get the idea for some kind of attachment ring. Really, some of this sometimes is just whatever comes into mind. So what's coming into my mind is, like, you know, when you have a chain and you've got like one coming out in the side plane, but then you have like another it's like a chain link, and I may add something to that. As if there's something, maybe I'll add something. Yeah, I think I will. That'll be fun. Going under here. Anything you can do to sort of add dimensionality and just interesting details to try and make it real. I'm going to zoom back up here for a second to Mr. Bird. Actually, back here I'm going to do these lights before I forget. I want some really fine lines on there to give it a little pattern. And I'll do this. It sort of implies that, you know, you ever look at a car headlight or similar type lights where it's got a lens type thing on top of it? It's got that kind of structured glass with a pattern inside it. So it's sort of like that I'm trying to imply. I feel like it needs something up here because it's just kind of boring. What would it have? An antenna? I always like to put antennas on it because it's kind of quirky. Maybe an angled antenna. Not that high because I don't want it in the way. Maybe it's a microwave, like antenna or something, I don't know. All right, moving on. I had this idea earlier, I said, to make a... How did that work, though? For this to close this, you'd need two parts. Let's make it like this. Oh, I need a seat first. There's no headrest there, so I hope he doesn't get whiplash. I didn't put a headrest up higher, but he's a sturdy bird. So this is like a circular ring that would close up. It would probably go vertical, and then maybe on the other side there'd be like a canvas that he'd pull over. Or maybe windows would slide up on either side to make it fully enclosed. But here I'm going to put this collapsible aspect in the silhouette, which is why I made that little wiggle line there. Again, like a convertible when it folds up. And let's make it like it's got a metal thing supporting it. And then where's this going to go to? You always got to look where you're going to go to before you go there with this kind of drawing, because even though I did a substructure to this, it's also not 100%. I think I'm going to put a tail light here like you'd almost get on a, you know, a motorcycle or a small car or a Vespa or something. And What do I need? An access panel? There wouldn't be a gas tank up there, would there? Let's make it like a gas cap. Maybe there's a tank in there that they fill with that flap. Everything's functional. So I may add more to this after, but what I do later is a roundup when you look at the whole thing and kind of assess the whole thing. But here I'm trying to get the volume of this cone coming down here. And I'm trying not to make tangents as much as possible. You always get a few, but anyway. This is like a bigger piece of structure. So let's put some heftier rivets here again. Like they really stapled that down. Rivets are always fun. And then let's give it a let's make another anchor point here. I'm doing this early because later I won't be able to. Let's make another one like it's empty. And where's that going to go to? Let's make it go over here, like there's a rope. It's going to go back because if it's flying, it's probably pushed back a little. And they've put some little banners on it. Markings. All right, let's get the dimensionality of this girder, because this is a little stronger. So I've given it a thickness to imply that it's tougher. See, what I'm doing here is a mix of spontaneous drawing with a little bit of planning. When you do the completely straight ahead drawing, you don't know where you're ending up. So for something more complex, this maybe helps having a bit of substructure, but I like leaving some of it unplanned because then you get more excitement, like spontaneity, and you get some unexpected things. Usually good, but sometimes bad. Let's make some kind of fin here on this. And a little shadow there inside the thing. Now I think what I want to do is add some more cargo bags here. So I'm going to make it like there's attachment points here. 2 of them, 2 big ones. And what they've done is tied off these cargo bags. And then maybe another one here. See some pull lines that's attaching in there. And then maybe be a third one over on the other side going around over the edge of this creature's body here, which that's the edge of there. So now I've got this coming around. Let's get that in. This is where this mass is sitting against the creature's body. He's probably got a terrible rash, but I don't know, he's some kind of fish creature. He's got tough skin. So let's give it some kind of interest here by adding some rigid and then that's these. And then another one of these, I'll mark it by showing those attachment points, and then we'll have one here that's going off behind there. Now, what do I need here? Some kind of wind fairing. Thing is to keep moving with these drawings is I established an overall goal by doing this first rough sketch. And when you're doing a straight ahead drawing, you don't have that. You just have it in your head. But anyway, I did that, and I'm trying to kind of keep to that overall view, but keep moving around to keep from bogging down. Because what I find happens through the years of working on doing these kind of drawings, if you bog down in one area too much and you get really super fussy, you might unbalance the thing. So I'm trying to keep that in mind and get the whole thing in over this, what has it been, 35 minutes. And then later, if I'll do an overview, and maybe even sometimes I turn it upside down and look at it, or look at it backwards. It probably won't show up here through this paper, but look at it backwards and see how it looks, look at it in a mirror, and then sort of do a balancing thing. So for example, I'm going to leave that for a second and jump down here and add these straps. Because what I find it does too is it refreshes you. Like you don't look at one part for a bit and then you might go back later and go, oh, that needs more work. Or you get a different idea or something. Let's do a kind of interesting thing here. Where are we? They're like a cross brace of these straps. You have to try and sort of think again, like the reality. Here's some of his flesh bulging out there. You have to kind of get into that macro but micro. Think of like little details that give it conviction. And where am I going to attach this light to? I guess I got to just do it this way. Probably need a secondary brace though for rigidity. So let's do a little tube there. It's got a little rain projection over the front just for... And let's give it again this kind of lens type effect to make it identifiable as the same as the other ones. And that should be enough for that. Sometimes I like to put for quirkiness, a little frazzled line. You don't know where I got that from? This is again examples of using things for your life. For some reason I started drawing these kind of things because when I had a rally bike when I was like 12, and it had this stupid light on it that was like one of those little lights with the generator, like that goes on the wheel that runs. And it was like, and it had this silly little, I don't know what it is, electrical line that went somewhere. And it was like this, it was all tangled and fraying like that. And it was so quirky, I don't know. Why does that stick in my head? I have no idea. Don't ask me. It's just the way the strange brain works. Okay, moving on. Let's do fin legs here on this guy. I'm going to make them like, they're kind of like, almost like fingers but flippers. And you can flip them around the other way when he lands and they turn into kind of feet, but all right, gives it a little character. Now we got this big strap here going around under here. Let's give it some thickness. Let's give it a cross, another cross brace. This would be like a, just thinking here. Be like a metal rod. It's just to anchor that a little better. And how does this work? Yeah, and again, I could draw this with rulers and make it really pretty and perfect, but for this style, it's okay to get some wobble in there. Presumably not too much, because you don't want the whole thing to look completely formless and lumpy and drifting all over the place. But there's a certain zone of tolerance that you can do that as long as you don't sort of stray outside that too far. Just felt like it needed some lines like this going up to show the volume. Like I said, the perspective is fairly flat, but it's showing the form. Like it's been made out of sections of metal. And I'll work on that a little more after, but is my guy reading here? I probably need a little more darks on him to get their eye to go up there. Mr. Bird Brain. Okay, now where am I? This girder is straight on, so you're not really seeing much of its thickness. But let's make it like it branches out here into an anchor point. How would that work? I'm trying to keep the form here believable. Believe me, it's not easy. Let's make it like they've patched it with some random crap. And then we've got this kind of window compartment. What would we have here? I know. Let's give it a... This is really wonky, but let's give it a corrugated metal roof just over the window for rain. I love corrugated metal roofs. Shack, the tin shack look. This is where you get things from real life that you see, either see in actuality or you see in a movie or in a photo, you know, on the internet or whatever. Bung that up, it should be going behind there, but anyway, that's what Photoshop or whiteout is for. Maybe this whole thing is kind of jury-rigged together, like they've found windows from other things and built this slapdash. That implies that it's glass. Slapdash structure. Okay, let's go a little faster here, I think, Paul. Some kind of cargo bag here. It's been attached up here, so there's pull lines. And it's got two parts like it's sewn here. And it's got some patches on it. It's been used so much. And again, it's got stitching. Just to give it some texture, it might be fun once I get the stitching done. Actually, let's give it some patterns too, like it's random fabric. Just continue this like it's... Oops, that's a little too close, but what the hell? Just keep going. Jazz 'em with jazz. Just keep going. When in doubt, keep going. All right, that's all right, I think. Let's make another one up here. Like they've smushed them all in. It's sort of like on an airplane or something. They've thrown them all in the cargo bay up there. I think we need some ropes though, like applying some ropes coming over to tie down points here. Might even need more of them. Because that's what you'd do, you know. I think we need another one here to make it more regular. 1, 2, 3, 4. There, that's better. There's some kind of anchor points they can put ropes on. And let's do the netting on this, the netting look. Try to make the netting follow the volume of the... All right. What about our cargo boxes? How are we going to keep them strapped down though? Maybe they wedged them in. Maybe they made them kind of like this. There's some smaller ones. Could be this is some kind of, it's not a mail truck, but it's delivery service in the outer lands. Some enterprising wonky bird has made a cargo service. Unique cargo to all points. And it's kind of like you see on the internet, you know, on X or whatever, or on other places, you see like these crazy videos of like, I don't know, might be like, I know I've seen ones like in Thailand or places like that, where the guy's got a motorcycle and he's got a cow like on the motorcycle and it's somehow balancing. And presuming it's real and not AI, which, I mean, it looks real. That's the kind of thing we're trying to get to here, you know, where it's kind of jury-rigged. But I'm trying to do it in a sort of more science fiction world where you've got these strange creatures. But as I said earlier, trying to make it believable. Trying to do variations on these fingers because you don't want to make them all identical. And here's another strap going around further away. Kind of bunged that up a bit. Should have gone in closer there, but what the hell. Let me give him a bulge, a herniatic bulge. And what do we have here? I think we need an air vent. And I think we're going to need a little chimney too, you know, because chimneys are always quirky. And if these guys are in here cooking, they've got some cramped, there's like some crew back here. We would need like an outlet. So let's make it like this, like it's a bit streamlined. It's got wire over it. And then it's got a wire holding it, because it's going to rattle in the wind as they fly along. Now let's get this engine in here. It's got a mast, but it's also got a girder holding it up, which we're going to draw. Bit of an old wonky girder. Where's that going to, Paul? I think it's going to go to a point down here, and we're going to get the end of this creature, which is a little indeterminate. Let's give it, this is more like metal. It's got like a tail like a stub, and it's been encased in this last bit of metal. And let's put another light on it. Like this is maybe a navigation light from the side, just to light it up at night. Now we need a hinge for this tail. A big hinge. Because it's only supported at the bottom the way I've drawn it, so it's a little bit like on the edge of believability, because that fin might rupture off. Another attachment point for ropes. Here's a rope this is like a cable. I don't know if I like that, but I'm going to leave it for now because this is a video and you do what you can do. As I said, that's what they invented Photoshop for, is to fix drawings. No, but you can always just take it into Photoshop. I've got brushes that pretty much can match easily the line weight once you do a nice scan. Usually I scan at 600 dpi or more. And let's give this rudder a bit of thickness. It's clashing a bit with that, with this kind of girder structure here, but let's fix that by, this is like the bracing. Coming up on an hour. So we'll see if we can make my roughly 1 hour target for doing a drawing like this. Let's add the far side of the, or the thickness of the girder there. It's getting a little confused here, so we're going to just not worry about that. I think to differentiate this, I'm going to put some rivets here. That should visually make it a little bit distinguishable, at least enough for this purpose. And there's probably like a motor in here that's pulling this, making this rudder hinge. And let's get the engine now. So we've got an engine. We'd have to have an intake, wouldn't it? Let's give it a line there to make it a little different. What can we put here? Just let's make another intake there. Some kind of cowling. Let's do some cylinders. Trying to keep the form here. Probably this would need some kind of bracing too. So let's imply that as this comes up, it's got a couple of little braces here that keep it from wobbling too much. And it's got this girder holding it up that they've built in there. And they've welded it or soldered it together. Has it got a number on it? Probably. Let's put a number here, or just part of one, going behind. And overlapping like that is always good for depth. See, it's going behind there. 5A or something, I don't know, doesn't matter. And it's funny with these drawings, some of them you just do you do them by your mood. Like sometimes they're rougher, sometimes they're more final. And that's where keeping a sketchbook and doing the drawings like I showed you earlier and not caring, really, like seriously not caring, that really helps. That's where that comes in, because my brain's beach balling because I'm trying to not mess this up, which I sort of did a little bit. It's supposed to be the propeller spinning. I was going to say a common thing, and I still get it, but not as bad, but particularly when you're beginning, is it's kind of like a fussiness, preciousness, stage fright. I don't know, it's sort of like that. It's like you're scared of making mistakes, so you get all tight and freeze up. But then, you know, because you're doing that, that's what makes you make mistakes. Whereas the classic thing that people say is, you know, go with the flow. And if you can get into that state where you're just not worried, then you can sometimes get really exciting results or different results, you know, something that you wouldn't normally do. And the only way to get to that is by practice and just doing it over and over. And that's, again, where something like an informal sketchbook where you give yourself permission to make mistakes, that's where that can really come in handy, because you just draw and you go, the hell with it, I don't care, I'm just drawing. And it's just lines on paper, it's my sketchbook, and no one's going to see it. It's not for display on social media. If it doesn't work out, fine, I'll just do more and start over, or I'll do a variation. So once you learn to regard drawing that way and not the really precious, fussy mindset that you can get as a beginner, you see it as a rough, loose thing, you know, like animators, when they draw, they're drawing like really from the arm or even wrist sometimes, not always fingers. And I'm doing a combination here, like if I'm doing lines, because this is a small drawing, I mostly am using my wrist and fingers, but also you're involving your arm. But anyway, that's where you get that comfort from, is just doing a lot of drawings, trying stuff, you throw it at the wall. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And over the course of time, you just get a lot more ideas. You get ideas about how to approach things. This is me here figuring out that I have to do tie downs on this. Probably there'd actually be a tarp or something. What would a truck driver tell me? They'd say, you got to throw a tarp over that and tie it all down, son. It's not looking too stable. So let's get more ropes on it here. Going back behind there. And hope that none of these fly off in the breeze. That's sort of enough to make it look like it's somewhat... Was that supposed to go behind that? I don't think so, but anyway, it doesn't matter. You see, you end up talking to yourself. It's kind of quirky, but... Now, you don't want this stuff to get loose and fly into the engine intake. See, there's a story developing already. Guy didn't tie it down. Bird isn't looking. He's listening to earbuds and doesn't hear it flapping. Breaks loose, goes into the engine. Engine flames out, breaks off. And then our guy, what is he, a gas bag? Windbag. I think I call them windbags. They're silent, but they're windbags. Windbag saves the day by pulling out of the power dive and lands just in the nick of time. I don't know what that is, but it felt like it needed it. Sometimes you do things just out of intuition. Now let's put as a serial number. See this number over here, 5A? Let's do it here. I'm going to do cargo. Well, I bunged that up, but that's all right. That's something I'd fix a bit, I think. It's a little close to his eye too, but anyway. You see, the perfectionist mind. Let's put some rivets on here. They're just fun to do. Don't have to put them all on every last one. You find that it looks better. You don't have to make the drawing look like a diagram, by the way. That's another thing to mention about when you're a beginner versus more experienced. You learn that there's little air gaps and things. Now, that's not great if you're going to color it on a computer, but it gives it life if you leave some air gaps in the inking, depending on the style you want. I mean, I've still closed off most of this, but I'm just saying that if you do the ultra, like, mechanical line around everything, it's sort of more dead. At least that's the way I look at it. Now I'm looking for any last things to add to this. I feel like this needs some texture or something. So let's make it like burlap or... No, I don't like that. Let's put some lines on it. We'll do that, but then we'll add some lines too. Here I'm gonna make them all broken. So I'm just doing dotted lines to give it a bit of variation, which I think is okay. Like I said, the whole thing with this is adventure. It's adventure drawing, high risk. Chills and spills. Except normally you don't talk to yourself while you're doing it like I am. Okay, now because I've darkened this, I'm finding that my eye's going there too much, so I feel like I need to do something here. You sort of go by intuition, like, and you balance and you look at it. I'm going to just do this as a line drawing, by the way. I'm not going to add tone. Like I'm really tempted to get a gray marker and add tones, but maybe I'll do that as a separate thing or on the computer, or who knows what. This way up, you know, they have those little arrows on boxes. And, you know, tape across the corners just to give it some interest. Like they've been taped. But like I said, I feel like I need something here because your eye's kind of going here and then it's stopping here. What am I going to put there? I think I need some cables. Cables are always good. Something going underneath here to take the eye. You're trying to keep the eye moving around. That's a little better, I think. You're always gauging, is it better or is it worse? You know? Of course, if you made it worse, then it's probably too late because you're using ink. But that's, like I said, I like to leave stuff for thinking in the ink, as they call it. Think in the ink. Because if you, like, different people are different with this, but I always, or I learned to detest trying to do a complete perfect pencil drawing for like a comic or whatever, and then just ink that in exactly, like retrace the whole thing and just be dead. Because if you fall in love with that initial drawing and you're like, oh, that's great, but then now I got to reproduce it in ink, and then you're sitting there like just sweating and stressing and your line goes a bit off. Whereas here, it was just a rough, chunky, I used this chunky clutch barrel. Need a new lead there, Paul. It's a, what is it, an HB lead, I think? Or a B lead or HB. I just draw it really roughly, thinking of the form. But the rest I'm improvising because it keeps me out of that fussy kind of tracing mentality, which I really hate. Like, that's what gives deadness. And I admire, excuse me, I admire artists like Mobius or Miyazaki, and you can see for sure they didn't do that. They did rougher penciling, and then they just went at it. And you can always, like, with the computer, redo it or patch it, or even on originals. If you look at comic art originals, of course, any collector knows that. Some of them have big patches on them, big chunks of whiteout. You redo stuff. Sometimes you scrap it and just do the whole page over again. You don't want to do that, but anything to get away from that super fussy thing, which frankly is fairly common nowadays. Like people, because of the computer and you can like zoom in to like 1 pixel, you're into this like super kind of fidgety look. And I guess I shouldn't diss it too much, but it doesn't appeal to me. I like some stuff with, I'm trying to do that. You give it life, you know, life. These are some knots from previous ropes that have been attached. Yeah, let's make the, see, that gave me an idea. Rags of an earlier flag that's been torn off, or debris, you know, that gets caught in stuff. What do I need here? I feel like this needs to be more like that, yeah. And then I'll match this panel with a sort of similar panel up here. There. Now I feel just the last thing, it needs some skin. No, not that kind of skin. It needs skin, like an implication of skin, like this thing's pressing. He's getting like wrinkles. I'm not going to go overboard because I don't want to, I like these empty areas, so I don't want to like kill that. But I've done these lines here, like see a slight overlap. It makes it look like the form is twisting because the front part's overlapping. Gives it more depth. All right, what am I going to do here? I think what I'll do is imply that he's coming into dock somewhere. So let's just freelance in some clouds. Cloud shapes. And I'm doing much more broken lines here. That way, you don't want it to join in with. If I used heavier, thicker lines that are connected, it would easily join into this. So I want your eye to be able to easily break out and it like separate the two. And it also goes with the nature of clouds being kind of fluffy and ephemeral and wispy. And I'm also trying to plan it like these ones are closer, and then I'm going off into the distance, like on an angle, with these getting much smaller to give some depth to it. If I wanted more drama, I could have put the clouds at a tilt and have it like he's diving in somewhere, but those are again examples of all the variations you start thinking of. What I think I'll do is actually do some dots along the line, because it'll be like a really distant horizon of the clouds. First time I'm using a ruler here. I like these ones because you can grab this and trying to just match the patterning here. What am I at? 106 minutes. Does it matter? No. If you're still here with me now, you might stay for another few minutes, even though it's not a live stream. What is this? A dead stream? A video? I was going to add some like more trees or something, but I don't think like as a giant tree here, but I think should I do that? What the hell? Yeah, let's do it. Let's imply that there's some kind of land here that he's coming up to. I have these tropes, you know, and things I like drawing, but you also never know what will work and what won't. I'm leaving it a bit broken because it's distant. And, but maybe this is implying that back here, the cloud's a little transparent there. There's like some land he's approaching. I hope that works. Do I need a bit down here maybe? I don't know. I am but a humble ink slinger, as they used to call it. Now what is it now? A pixel slinger, probably, right? A humble slinger of pixels. Do you sling pixels? These are the questions that get into your head. Here I'm thinking of the shape of this trees, and obviously doing a different dotting pattern to kind of give some variety. I'm kind of doing it in layers going back, like these would be smaller clumps of leaves or whatever. Yeah, do you sling pixels? No, a pixelator. I'm but a humble pixelator. I don't know. Those are like branches through there. Could have somebody in a treehouse back there. I think I need something down here because I'm feeling like, actually let's put some birds here. Birds are always cheap. Really, because I needed an element here. To carry the eye along. And a little bit annoyed with this part, but I think I can live with it for now. Let's make this cloud come out here more. So now I have a problem compositionally. I'm always looking for balance, right? So now there's a very big cloud shape there that it's bugging me because there's just like a circular shape there, and your eye's going to go there because this fin is pointing there. So what you want to do is move the eye out. I've got to put something there, and I'm trying to decide whether to put another tree branch in the mist here, which I think I'm going to try. Actually, let's just see here. heck with that. Let's make the tree in front. Go for it, Paul. Got yourself in a little trouble here because this line is joining up still, but that's what I would white out a tiny bit of that so it doesn't join. This is an example of like working on the fly to change the drawing. I'm going to make this tree in front by sneaking the branches out through these gaps I left. And make it solid. I was going to have this tree like as if it's showing through the mist, but I don't want to do that. It's in front. That cloud can be way more distant behind. Gives it more depth anyway. And let's add some. This could be broken. Like it's just snapped off. And then yeah, we need just to continue this a little bit. I'm trying to vary these shapes so they're not exactly identical. The shapes of each of these bunches of tree leaves. Think of the outline of it as its own graphic shape. And of course, this is sort of taking your eye over to this bird. You want people's eyes to keep circulating. I don't know if I achieved that completely here, but I'm going to put some random birds down there too. All right. What do I need here? Maybe some, I think I need just a little something over here. I could leave that blank and put something in the color if I colored this, but I think I'm going to put some very faint wispy lines in the sky. Also feels like motion lines. The old transport gas bag. Just extending these because I didn't like that they stopped before these ones need to go off the edge of the paper. And I think I need something here. I don't know what. Let's make a sun, a setting sun. That's always cheap and easy. The old gaseous sun like in Star Wars. Twin suns shot, you know? It's going through the clouds. Distant clouds are making bands across it. Could have fun coloring that. Let's put some real flock of birds back here. I feel like the Bob Ross of science fiction drawing here. I guess I don't look like him, but I'm like, we'll just take our brush and put a few little birds back here. We'll just take our pen and add some metal. We'll just add some rivets down here and even these ones out. There we go. Is that how Bob Ross talked? I don't know. I never watched Bob Ross, so I've only seen the caricature memes. I was not a Bob Ross kid. That's just more skin kind of carrying through here. I think I don't want to busy that up too much though. My brain is warning me. All right. This is all over here too much, so I need to balance it with this. To make it clear that to carry your eye through and make it clear that that's all part of the same distant thing. So that's all sky, because that's the pattern indicating sky back there. what you do is you mark each thing with its own distinct pattern. So clouds have a certain type of calligraphy, leaves do. And what you want to do is not confuse people. And again, if you look at the best pen and ink artists and people like, well, back in history, Mobius, or go further back, people like Frank Reynolds, E.H. Shepard, who did the Winnie the Pooh drawings, just amazing. All kinds of them. They all understood this. Howard Pyle, who did amazing paintings, but also amazing line art, ink drawings. They all understood that principle. That's where you learn it from, is you demarcate different things or denote by different markings or patterns. If you make all your patterns the same, you get camouflage, you get confusion, mud, everything mixes in together. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done. Let's just sign it. Put the old signature. What is it? September. What is it, the 8th? Let's just put the month, 9/24. Okay. We'll do a last zoom in. I might, as they say, tickle that up a bit more in the cold light of dawn in the morning. I might go, oh, that's too empty right there, and add more, and then, oh, that's too empty. But I might add a bit more right now. See, the whole thing is knowing when to stop. But if you've watched this far, thanks for watching. And if you're not a subscriber but you like this, please subscribe, because as everybody on YouTube pleads, it really does help. I'm trying to grow my channel and get to the monetization level, which is not that far off. But that will really help, because I want to keep doing this full time. And so, yes, you can really help by doing that. Like, comment, share this on social media if you like it. And hit, the notifications so you see my next ones. I'm going to try and get back to more of these longer form videos. I've got lots of ideas for them. It's just sitting down and producing them, right? That's always the challenge. See, even as I'm yakking more, I'm fussing around. The whole question is, how much fussiness is the right amount of fussiness when it comes to drawing? Where is the real balance? And I've made a form mistake here. I'll point out my own mistakes. I would fix this later. See, this is supposed to be flush with his skin, this girder, but then here it comes up into above the edge of this kind of sidewall, but I don't know how that would work because there's no bend in the girder. So I've broken my own rules. I'm a complete hypocrite, and you should disown me for that, because it's the internet. I'm putting this back here as another one to imply that there's depth behind there, sort of overlapping. All right. Goodbye, good night. What does the guy Jim Carrey say at the end of the Truman Show? Goodbye, good night, and good luck drawing. And I'll see you in the next video. I don't think that's what Jim Carrey said, but you're stuck with it.